Hey, if you've ever heard the phrase radiate the brain and change the game, that's because Trevor Arts and myself came up with that several years ago. I wrote a book called Radiate the Brain and Change the Game, and that became my hashtag. This is the book. It's been rebranded since 2013, but it ultimately became a series. So I thank Trevor Arts for working with me in a conversation that we had to come up with that title. And I also thank Delatoro McNeil for writing the foreword. He's the author of, most famously known, Caught Between a Dream and a Job. And that book has gone on to do, I don't know, God knows what, so many different things for so many different people. It has put them on platforms that I can't even count. However, a very similar thing has happened for me with my book, Radiate the Brain and Change the Game. And as you see behind me, this is a book series, and it's all about mindset. So when I talk about mindset, the philosophy of mindset, it's all tied into the reality that better decisions get better results, but you can't get better decisions without having the right mindset. And I have catchphrases, or I guess you could call them affirmations and catchphrases that I've been using for years. One is radiate the brain and change the game. And the other is the right mindset is all you need. And that's what we're going to talk about today, the right mindset. Now, there are about 5 tips that I want to suggest in today's talk. So please take notes, whether you use pen and paper, it doesn't matter. But I think there's going to be something here that helps you either personally or professionally. And I've been very fortunate that my books have helped millennials, boomers, and so many others. And the common thread or the common thing is that they have said the same thing and not even knowing each other. And that thing was, I see myself in your writing, or I see myself in your book. And you talk about, I can't even express fully the feeling that I've gotten when I've heard people say that, because one, people from different walks of life have said the same thing. And it lets me know that I was on to something right when I wrote my books. So I want to just start off with the first topic, which is reality. The reality is you have to have the right mindset, no matter what it is you're doing personally or professionally, maybe even socially or spiritually. Think about that. You have to have the right mindset. Without the right mindset, you won't get the results that you really want. There's no two ways of looking at it. I deal with communication, leadership, and customer service. I speak on those topics. And in dealing with those topics with government employees and private companies, I find that it's so important that as it relates to public speaking or communication, you have to have not just the right mindset, but you have to understand that even though there are challenges, you have to be able to overcome those challenges. You have to try to overcome those challenges. And some people say, well, how do you do it, Charles? You talk so much and you talk for such a long period of time and you talk to so many people. Well, here's a tip. When I have to speak, whether it's a keynote or a workshop, and there's a lot of people or people that I don't know, before the talk, I literally talk to the people that will be attending. Now, there's not a lot of time to become friends, but there's enough time for me to build rapport. And in building rapport, I get to know them a little bit. And if I'm uncomfortable, my discomfort, it lowers or decreases. Their familiarity with me, it increases. They feel good about talking to me, even if they don't know that I'm the guest speaker. They don't know, but because I've spoken with them before the event, there's a little bit of comfort and hopefully likability. And that's one way to help yourself become more comfortable speaking with people, building rapport, right? Now that's personal and it's professional. Now here's another thing. When you're speaking to people, even again, if you don't know them, the benefit of that is that, you get a lot of buy-in. So if you're selling something or offering something, they're likely to support you. And you can even use them in your presentation. And when it comes to delegating in a work scenario, get to know the people that work under you or work with you, because using their name is key. People like to hear their name. But working with people, the more you get to know them, the easier it is to speak with them. The easier it is as a boss, supervisor, manager to delegate to them. So that's one tip that I can tell you, it really works, but you have to be willing to apply that. That's the reality of communication and dealing with people in, I guess, unfamiliar situations and circumstances. And the benefit, though, you become the type of person that people want to be around. One, because you're using their name in some cases. Two, you've been able to build rapport with them pretty quickly. Three, they may see you on a platform as a boss or as a leader or as someone in charge, right? And we'll talk about leadership in a little bit, but they see you in a different light. And again, hopefully the likability factor has kicked in. And the more you engage with them, the easier it becomes, the more likable you are. And that makes that whole communication, the whole communication factor a lot less intimidating. So now, this is the next thing I want to talk to you about as it relates to customer service. A lot of people really don't know who their customers are. Now, that may sound crazy to you, may sound odd. How can people not know their customers? Because most people look at customers as the people that are coming in to buy a product or service. Now, that is true. Those are your customers. But your customers are also people that you engage with or that cross your path. Whether it's every day, some days, those are also your customers. Now, I know on a personal level, it may seem a little different to call family members customers because they're not literally customers, but those people deserve the same treatment. Now, back to the entrepreneur life or the work life, even your boss or your supervisor, if you call them that, those are your customers. You're providing information. You're providing a service, right? Whether it's inventory, answering a phone, they are customers. And the sooner and the more likely you see them that way, the easier it is to do your job as the one that has the insight, as the one that is known as and seen as the professional. And the benefits of that is the more you're able to do your job as the customer service expert or the person with the knowledge, the more they're likely to come back to you, the more they're likely to refer people to you, and the more likely your bottom line will grow. And that's huge. I mean, when I say huge, that is huge. That's all a part of the reality. That's the reality of business. Being able to communicate, being able to provide customer service. I mean, I can go on and on about customer service because, again, that's one of the things I talk about. I teach customer service, I teach leadership, and I teach communication. But they're all kin to one another. It's like they're cousins. They're all aligned next to one another. Even if you could be a customer service representative, but not be a leader.
Hey folks, Sir Charles Carey here. You know, most people that are watching this content may not even be subscribers. Do me a huge favor and subscribe to our channel, share it and like it. You know, all the things that most people are asking you to do. Now, if you really like what you're getting here, please go to our website. The link will be in the description so that we can give you something free. No obligation. It'll either be the 3 peak tips or a structured breakdown so that you can take advantage of it. And again, there's no obligation. As we continue to build a channel, look for new subscribers and look for the opportunity to pour into other people. We know there is massive value. I've been doing this for quite some time, and all I really want to do in my life is more of the same. Pour into others the way others have poured into me. I work with many people. I've studied from many of the greats, and now it's your turn to get the same opportunity. Thanks a lot. See you. Back to the conversation.
But if you're a leader, you should definitely have good customer service skills. So on to the next. Let's talk about leadership. No, let's talk about risk and fear first. You know, they say no risk, no reward. And I think that's true. I think it's true because in order to get something, you have to do something. And most of us, we have to learn how to do something we've never done before so that we can see how something works or does not work. So risk and fear are things that a lot of people stray from. They really don't want to take the risk to do this or to do that. And I understand it's scary. Will it work? Will I mess up? Will I look crazy doing this thing, And you might, but that's how you learn, by taking those risks, right? And fear, the reason we don't take the risk is because of the fear. Now, it's been said, you sit in chairs, you drive on the highway, the beltway, you flying airplanes. You don't control those airplanes, right? You don't control the buses and the trains. Now, you may be able to control how you drive your car, but if the engine fails or if another car next to you decides to crash into you, because of a failure, you have no control, and it is a risk. Yet, you do it ever so often. So I find that most fears are coming from here. It's the opinions, right? And we'll talk about that a little later as well. But most fears are coming from here, the thought process. So you have to be willing to take the risk. And so here's a question, and you can answer yourself for now, but I would love to engage you about it. What are some of your fears? Like why you don't do certain things? What are some of the things that hold you back or prevent you from moving forward or standing up to wave the flag or take the charge, right? What are your fears? And, you have to understand one thing, and this is a fact. You cannot change what you don't acknowledge. Dr. Phil used to say that a lot. You can't change what you don't acknowledge, and that's true. If you want to get better at something, you have to be willing to do something different to get different results. Without you making the actual change, stepping up and challenging yourself, you cannot get different results. So be willing to challenge yourself so that you can get those different results. Now, I've taken a few notes on a couple of things. So based on my notes, I want to share some of these things because I don't know if I said it in the beginning, but this book has 15 chapters, and I could not sit here and share every single element of what I've wrote or what I've written in this book with you because it would be God knows how long of a discussion. But I've chosen a few things because I know that these things really make a difference. And it's hard to even determine, to be honest with you, what are the most pertinent things because we are all different. One thing that resonates with you might not resonate with someone else. So we have to realize that in order for us to get the benefits, we have to realize what our wants and needs are. So let me move on to the next thing. The need of acceptance. I think this is tip number 3. Many of us, going back to risk and fear, don't take the risk because we fear what people think of us, which is a need of acceptance. We want that automatic buy-in that I'm accepted, that they're on the same team with me, the same level, the same thinking. And yeah, you get that from time to time. But remember, we are all different. Some people like Oreos, some people like Chips Ahoy. So we're different. We have different tastes, different preferences. And no matter how you slice it, no matter who you are, it's going to always be that way. So the need of acceptance can be paralyzing. There's a saying, why are you trying so hard to fit in when it's obvious you were designed to stand out? You see, when you can accept that about yourself, and maybe even if you can accept that with other people, the friction would be decreased. There would be less friction because we all have our own lanes that we drive in. And even if some of us are in the same lane, we're in that lane at different paces. Some are moving fast in that lane, and some of us are moving slowly in that lane. And that's the truth. So they're not going to live for you, these other people, and they're definitely not going to volunteer to die for you. Now, they may have opinions about you and what you should do, but they, my friend, are not you. That's the long and short of it. So let's move on, because there's a lot to cover, and I want you to get everything that you can possibly get. Mistakes. How many of us have made mistakes? Time and time and time again. Well, here's the rub. Mistakes can happen because it's a part of life. No one is perfect. But I would tend to say that if you're making mistakes, you should not be making the same mistake, the same way, at the same level, each and every time. You have to be willing to realize that the mistakes you make, they should be minimized until they are eliminated, because that's just the way we grow. You know, you don't want to keep making the same mistake and be seen the same way. You don't want to make the same mistake and not learn anything. Mistakes are beneficial, but you have to show they're beneficial by actually learning from the mistake itself. So understand the good and bad about mistakes is that there's always a lesson to learn. And if there's a lesson to learn, you can be better from that lesson, the good ones and the bad ones. And most of us, unfortunately, we shy away from mistakes. And I know I did. As a kid, I shied away from mistakes because I grew up in a time where you got punished for making mistakes. That's old school, traditional, true, but you actually got punished from making mistakes. And it made me very fearful as a child and very particular as an adult until where I become a seasoned adult and I learned the lessons that I'm sharing with you now. So let's again move on. Investing is a key component in how we grow and get better. In fact, when it comes to the phrase radiate the brain and change the game, investing is a key component on how you can get better. A $30 or $50 investment will not yield you the same results as a $1,000, $5,000, and $10,000 investment. It's just not logical that you can put up $5,000 to $100 and figure I'm still going to get something. Yes, you will get something, but you won't get a reward in the way that you would like to. And again, now think about Trevor Otts. He says, invest at the level in which you expect a return. So the bigger your investment, the bigger the return. And that's just, to me, a logical assessment in business and a logical assessment in life. The more you invest, the more you learn, the more you experience, the more you get out of a thing. Right? Makes sense? So who are your influencers? Who are your coaches? Who are the people that you commonly look at on YouTube or that you commonly follow at conferences? You see, every investment can be such a big benefit in so many ways. The knowledge you gain, right? It's also a tax write-off in many cases, especially if you're already in business. So look at how you invest. Now, here's the thing, and I've said this many times, and I know some people probably are not sure how to take it. Stop buying everything. If you're just starting out, yes, you should invest. And yes, you need to invest. But you don't need everything in the kitchen sink because you're not ready for it yet. You're simply not ready for a mastermind maybe day one. Now, yes, there are exceptions. And yes, maybe a mastermind, depending on who's the mastermind facilitator, it may help shape your thinking on where you want to go. But I would think that some of the initial learning lessons have to be experienced first. Because if you jump in from day one, okay, I want to start a business, where do you start? Why are you buying websites and URLs if you don't know what your focus is. Why are you buying anything outside of maybe a couple of books or maybe a introductory coaching program? Because you may not be ready for all these other things. You're not ready for cameras and lights and all that. You don't know what you don't know. You haven't decided or prepared to walk down a path or an aisle that's going to yield you fruit yet. And what happens, a lot of people, they start a business not having any idea about being an entrepreneur, and they get turned off because they don't know or did not know what they did not need and what they did need. They spent thousands of dollars in some cases, and they weren't ready to make those investments yet. Sometimes your initial investment may simply be a book. It may simply be a discovery call to find out where they should start their journey or how they should start their journey or what type of coach or what type of program would be suited for their decision that they have recently made. So understand, stop buying everything, but yes, you do need to invest. It is critical that you invest if you expect to grow. Now, here's the call to action. Let's call it what it is. I'm looking for 5 to 10 people that I would love to work with. I can't work with everybody. And as I said before, this book, it's not that it's massive, no, but it's about 176 pages, 15 chapters. I cannot possibly teach you everything I know, teach you everything in this book, not to mention the other books from the series in a YouTube or an online course just like that. It takes time to hear the information, to digest the information, and then how to apply the information. So if you're ready to move forward and maybe go from where you are to where you want to be, or in some cases where you need to be, DM me so I can have a quick call with you and tell you about next steps. That's the way it works best. And that's what you will be grateful for, because nobody wants to be led by the nose, not knowing one thing from the other, but expecting a big turnout and they haven't done the right work. And like I said before, I've been there on both sides. I started things and didn't know what to expect. Things didn't work out, but I was just too hard-headed to stop until I started meeting the right people and investing with the right people, learning from the right people, and getting the right results because of the right people. With that being said, as I always say, you got to be willing to radiate the brain and change the game. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Now it's time for Desktop Discussions.